Well, what do we have here? Well, here was me, just randomly scrolling across the internet, when all of a sudden I come across a Facebook post from Total War, from the Creative Assembly no less, and they are telling me that they've changed their header, and they've changed it to a pharaoh. Yes, because I have not been paying attention, I completely missed that the latest Total War game is going to be Total War Pharaoh. Touted to be the last of the Saga series, and they have just released a trailer, and I'm going to watch it. And once I've watched it, I will fill you in with what I saw and what I think about it. Sound fair? Okay, well then continue to watch. Here we go. Pressing the button. May contain content inappropriate for children. Classic shot of the pyramids over the Nile. Okay, we've got a dung beetle. Oh, and the music is getting more intense. It's an intense dung beetle. Oh, it's now raining on the dung beetle. Dung beetle is in a desert. In a sandstorm. Humanity! Oh, okay, we have a weapon. Rolling you down over a weapon. And a helmet of some sort. And it has met a fearsome opponent. Another dung beetle. Oh, they've wrestled. And our hero dung beetle has thrown the other dung beetle over. And he mounts his dung only to have it destroyed by an arrow. Landed the hand of the pharaoh himself. He's on the pharaoh's hand. He's giving inspiration to the pharaoh. Music swells as a great army comes into view. Pharaoh seems lost, now imbued with the strength of the dung beetle. And over the dead bodies of his warriors, he calls on yet unseen forces to meet the foe. And then the camera swells upwards, chariots charge, and in a swell of dust, the title is revealed: Total War Pharaoh. Pre-order October 2023. Okay. Wow. Okay. Cool. So we're going to get a new Total War game, and it's set in the Bronze Age, of the ancient world, which makes sense. It's following on from the last historical game they made, which was Troy, and now we've gone to ancient Egypt. Now, as many players of Total War will know, Egypt has been a playable faction in all of their previous titles set in the ancient world, but of course those have been always centered around the Roman Republic, and they've always been a little hokey looking as a mixture between ancient Bronze Age Egyptians and Hellenistic Egyptians. So this is very cool. I've wanted them to do this for a long time, and in terms of what we see in the trailer, we're not seeing anything much yet. It's a teaser trailer and it's a cinematic trailer. And it's an interesting choice, right? to have the viewers taken to the story of the pharaoh in this titanic battle outside of Giza by the lowly dung beetle. I don't know what to make of that. I guess I'll insert here some sort of section about the iconography of dung beetles in ancient Egypt, and do a little voiceover explaining it. But I'm a little amused by the inclusion of the noble dustbin man of the plains.
Right. All joking aside, scarab beetles,
very important in Egyptian mythology. They are dung beetles, and some gods were meant to take their form, such as the god Khepri, who was said to roll the sun across the morning sky every day to get things kicked off. So it's actually very significant that the pharaoh should take inspiration in this dark hour from this humble insect. Okay, back to the video. Well, the symbolism of the trial of the dung beetle aside, make of it what you will. If this game tanks, then that trailer is going to come back to haunt them. The city looks cool. It looks like your fairly typically well-made, well-designed looking visual of a large ancient city. Game designers and developers love making them. They, it gives a lot of money to artists. That looked pretty cool. Obviously, the movie itself, the CGI rendering, is great. And then we have the pharaoh himself. I'm just going to bring up a photograph of what he's wearing, because we're all about fashion in history YouTube, really. We're all just sort of fashion nuts, just for an age gone by. And so back to what does our pharaoh look like? So the header image of just sort of the box image, I'm seeing a fairly classical kind of looking figure. He's wearing the jewel encrusted collar. He's wearing a scale sort of lamella shirt, very long shirt, which is typical of the golden age of the pharaohs, of Ramesses II. Chariot wear of nobles, very expensive, good protection. He's also wearing the crossed wings device over his armor. Of course, the crossed wings of, I think it's Ra, or Horus. Probably Horus, right? So he looks okay. I mean, it's pretty good. They've chosen as a visual representation, as a person, a man who looks distinctly North African, and that's a good choice. I don't really know what the current state of the debate as to the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians is, but what we can simply say is, for the purposes of this game and this video, is that they were a very diverse nation. And you can see on the reliefs, the painted reliefs anyway, that the people depicted had various skin tones, and they tend to vary in color to a certain degree, and that whatever they were, the rulers were probably not white people, at least until the Macedonian conquest. So on his head, the pharaoh is wearing the blue war hat, which you see very commonly depicted in scenes of pharaoh going into battle. Ramesses II, Thutmose the third, and the Battle of Megiddo, classically seen as the crown representing the two kingdoms that the pharaoh would wear if he was leading an army into combat or into battle. So it's one of the three famous hats that the pharaoh would wear, and he looks very dashing in it as well. The interesting thing about the depiction of pharaoh is that when we zoom out, we see that he's wearing a cloak, a very long blue richly embroidered cloak, which has various designs on the back, one of which is most certainly Horus or Ra. And I mean, that's very Ten Commandments. I don't quite know whether Bronze Age pharaohs really wore cloaks like this. That is, I'm going to guess, probably artistic license to make him look cool. I'm also wrong. He's not wearing a He's not wearing a charioteer's. He's not wearing a charioteer's long lamellar scale coat of plates. It seems to stop at his waist, and the breastplate of Horus wraps around the top of that. Um, he's wearing a simple kilt-like device, and he seems to be wearing a slightly glamorized version of the belt you see ancient Egyptians wear. It has a sort of a groin guard. Ancient Egyptians did use groin guards. They were quite large and sort of shaped like palm leaves in some in some examples, but is more sort of a scarf-like device as well. So you see, that's all right. What on earth is he wearing on his? What on earth is he wearing on his legs? Okay, I don't know what he's wearing on his legs. I think he might be wearing some. I think he's wearing some sort of greaves, and he's got a little sword as his weapon. Which, yes, the ancient Egyptians did have small bronze swords, but given the time period, I don't know if a sword is the right choice. I think people would have preferred to see a khopesh or something like that, or an axe. Axes you see quite a lot. So when the dung beetle first arrives on the battlefield, before his great roll of feces is destroyed by the arrow, and he lands to give his encouragement, his silent encouragement on the pharaoh to say, "Go get them for destroying my dung ball." We see him crawl over a fallen weapon, which is a bronze khopesh of sort of the high period that you expect to see of that. It's quite a it's not one of the simple khopeshes, it's one of the sort of fancier types. And the khopesh is, of course, of the legendary sickle blade of ancient Egypt, but was common around the Bronze Age Near East. And people argue whether it is evidence of a tradition of farming implements being turned into weapons, or if it is of a deeper spiritual, traditional connection to the early farming origins of the ancient Egyptians, i.e. that it is meant to look like the hind leg of a goat or a cow. There's also an interesting helmet that he crawls across, which has horns on it, and that indicates that I'm going to guess, because we don't actually see one, that is one of the Shardan Guard, the royal guard of mercenaries, who no one really knows where they came from. Some people suspect there was a group of Sardinian mercenaries that protected the Ramesside kings, and they are very well documented in carved reliefs. It would be cool if they are involved. So there are some casualties strewn around the battlefield. We see some cowhide shields. We see some ruined chariots, all looking more or less all right. The actual fabric and clothing doesn't look quite right to me, and there are some standards strewn around the battlefield as well, which actually they kind of look okay, because I've seen some examples of Egyptian standards, although it's unclear, to be honest, what they were properly used for, but we'll see. And then, of course, you get these wide-angle shots of a battle playing out. The troops involved are very difficult to see. They're just a sort of a horde of running figures. You can't make out much detail in terms of weaponry. I think you can just about see what you'd expect from Egyptian infantry on the Pharaoh's side, and I don't really know who the enemy are. You can see a squadron of chariots racing down into the plain in front of the burning city of Gizeh. So things obviously aren't great for the Egyptians here, and it's probably up to us to save them. But overall, I like the idea from just an entertainment perspective. I like the look of the teaser trailer. And as usual, basically with Total War games nowadays, don't take it too literally, because it's a fanciful version, I think, of the ancient Bronze Age and ancient Bronze Age warfare. We'll see. Let's see if they actually finally manage to give us some chariots that are useful for something. We haven't had chariots in a Total War game that can do stuff since Rome 1, so, let us see if Amun smiles upon this game, or if it will be reduced to the rolling dunghill of...
And that's all we have time for. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're interested in the game. All the details currently available will be posted down below. Check out my video with Damon Stith for more information on ancient Egyptian warfare, and I will see you in the next video for another adventure in Historyland.